Good morning, everyone. I'm Frank Messina, Chair of the Chatham Historical Commission, and I'd like to welcome everybody on this beautiful May 17th to the meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission. We have a number of quick announcements before we start. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please notify the chairman now. Thank you. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings. Oh, sorry, I misspoke. Pursuant to Governor Baker, June 16, 2021, signing of an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, including the extension of his March 12, 2020 order, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law 30A-20, until July 15, 2022. This meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission is being conducted both in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 508-945-4410. Conference ID number 102-248-952 #, or by joining the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. Despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide for real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. We do have a number of members who are participating remotely, and we will acknowledge you at the appropriate time if you wish to speak. The first order of business will be a roll call. Vice Chair Bob Lear.
Here.
Steve Burlingame, Clerk, absent. Ben Smolodzinski.
Here.
Stephanie Hamilton.
Here.
Jane Moffett.
Here.
Don Aikman.
Here.
Sandy Porter.
Here.
Janet Tennyson.
Here.
And the chair is here. Do we know who was the last member who voted?
Janet is today's voting alternate.
Janet is the voting alternate. So Janet, you will be the voting alternate today as Mr. Burlingame, our regular member, is not here. Okay, the first order of business is the minutes of May 3rd, 2022. Everybody has been given a copy?
Yes, it says Mr. Moffett. It's not
says-
Mr. Moffett.
It says Mr. 5 times.
Yes, I know. I saw that 5 times. I've got it circled 5
I am
times.
Mrs.
Oh, in the minutes,
In
okay.
the minutes, Mr. Moffett.
Well, we should get Reed to be a member. Come on.
Maybe that's why, because Reed always ran the computer for
Okay,
me.
thank you.
I
I assume
do.
you've got that.
Stephanie, do you have another correction? I do. After the motion, under the minutes, the vote, how could the vote be 702? That adds up to 9.
Yes, thank you very much.
And then I have another
So that
one.
should be 5, that should be,
It should be 502, I think,
502.
right?
You got that, ladies? Okay, thank you
and-
very much.
I have another one, the next sentence down. It's a small one, but Mr. Dunham, the end of the sentence should say, "to be built in its place." It says,
To be what?
"to be built in its place." ITS.
Okay. You got that? Thank you, Jane. Any other corrections, additions, deletions? If none, I'd like a motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
All right. Second.
Moved by Mr. Aikman, seconded by Mr. Lear. Thank you very much. All right, we need to take a roll call. Bob?
Yes.
Ben? Steph?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
And Janet?
Yes.
Okay, great. Got that out of the way? All right, 1 second. We have one hearing on our agenda.
Mr. Chairman, point of order. My wife is a member of the Old Village Association and vice president of the Old Village Association. Excuse me. But I have no financial interest in this application, and therefore I will participate and vote.
Thank you.
A similar request, Mr. Messina. My wife is also a member of the Old Village Association. She is the president. And I have just a little thing which I notified the Select Board of, which is part of the statute. Pursuant to Section 23B3 of General Law, Chapter 268A, I've considered whether my relationship would prevent me from acting fairly and objectively in performing my duties as a historical commissioner, concluded that my determinations will be fair and objective, and I intend to participate in the commission's deliberations.
Thank you very much, Don and Bob. Appreciate that. So we can clarify that for those who had questioned the process. Thank you very much. Okay, as I said, and thank you very much for that point of order, we have a continuation of a public hearing, which actually, I guess, started on 4/29, I forget, and then was for the public's information, so the public understands what's happening here. So this application was received on 4/29. Because this application is a building, a structure which is a contributing structure in the National Register District, as part of the normal protocol of the Historical Commission, when there is an application that is significant, we ask Sarah Korjeff, who is the preservation consultant of the Cape Cod Commission, to review the application and give us some guidance from the Cape Cod Commission's perspective of the application. And the reason we do that is because if we find there is a substantial alteration to the project or it meets other criteria, we have the authority under the Cape Cod Commission Act to refer that application to the Cape Cod Commission. So, as after 4/29, the applicant graciously agreed, thank you very much, to I guess it was 4/19, the original meeting, not 4/26, agreed that we would continue the meeting until 5/3, of which, at the second at 5/3, we did receive additional, a new application, a revised application, and we had, at the request of a member of the public and the chair, we asked Sarah Korjeff to take another look at that application as it was revived. We did receive those comments from Sarah Korjeff in accordance with the Cape Cod Commission. We will be considering those comments as we proceed. And again, the applicant allowed us to continue the hearing until 5/17, which is where we are today. So today, we will be reviewing the application again in accordance with the demolition delay bylaw, Chapter 158, and in accordance with the Cape Cod Commission Act of a contributing structure in the National Register District. I apologize for that being confusing to the member of the public, but I think it's important that both the public and the members of the commission, focus on what we are, why we're doing it, and where we are. So at this particular time, sorry, Bill, Mr. Riley, would you introduce yourself and
Sure.
and let's decide how you want to proceed today.
Okay, so my name is William Riley. I represent John and Catherine Brigden, who are the owners of the property. The Brigdens are on the telephone, and I know that they would like to make an initial statement to the commission, if we could do that now.
Very good. I guess, no problem. We recognize are you online there, sir? There we
they
go.
are.
Yeah, can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Great. Okay, thank you so much. Well, I just got a brief statement I thought we could kick things off with. Good morning, Chairman Messina and members of the commission. My name is John Brigden, and I'm here today with my wife, Kate. And we've owned and loved our Chatham home at 32 Ivy Lane for almost a decade. And we have been coming to Chatham and the Cape every summer with our family for much longer than that. My wife is from Massachusetts. We love Chatham. We love living in the Old Village in particular. We value greatly our neighbors, and we appreciate the good work that you are doing as part of this historical commission. For us, like so many others in Chatham, Chatham is about family. And one of our main goals for this project has been to preserve the house for the next generation and to create a little more space for our family. The current house has just 2 bedrooms on the 2nd floor, and the proposed plans provide just enough room for an addition of a 3rd bedroom on the 2nd floor. When we began thinking about this project, our 2 central goals were to preserve and honor the original cottage and its positioning on the site with respect to its role in the Old Village and within our small neighborhood on Ivy Lane. We sought primarily additional space for a car and some of our bikes and beach gear through the addition of a small garage, and as I mentioned, an addition of a bedroom upstairs. We originally engaged and worked with a couple of other local architects to help us, both separately, over a period of time. However, after more than a couple of years, we eventually set those plans aside because we just didn't feel that they achieved the goal of preserving the historic character of the cottage and its location on the site. Both of the works provided a garage and an additional bedroom, but they did not really complement and respect the historical character of the cottage in a way that we thought was appropriate. So we embarked on yet another, with a relationship with another architect, and we connected with Patrick Ahern firm because of their extensive and successful work preserving and restoring historic properties throughout New England, including the Cape and the islands. We gave this a lot of thought and worked hard over many months to ensure we understood the context and contribution of the cottage and the Old Village. We did not take this lightly. We are very pleased with the work the Ahern firm has done. From the beginning, they have focused on the historical context of the cottage and in particular its location, preserving the views and lines around our cottage to benefit our neighbors. We believe the current proposal that keeps the garage separate from the main structure, which is less convenient than having an attached garage in the middle of the lot, best captures the historical context of the cottage and its contribution to the neighborhood. The plan also restores and highlights the original cottage and corrects some of the non-historical changes that had just been made recently to the house, while at the same time providing a modest amount of additional space, just slightly over 400 square feet of coverage. I hope that this provides you with some insight into what we're trying to achieve and the amount of thought and time and energy and resources that we put into this project to preserve this house and its role in the Old Village. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your comment. I do have just one question, maybe a point of order. Is Steve Burlingame, is that you calling in? Yeah, I can see him in the corner. Steve? Steve, can you at least acknowledge that you can hear us and we can hear you? Mark, can you connect with him? I'm sorry to interrupt, your comments.
No, I
just
saw
need to-
Steve's picture, maybe he's muted, I don't know.
Just that if he is in fact present, we have to acknowledge his presence, and then he would then become a voting member. Steve, are you there?
We know you're there somewhere, Steve.
Steve, are you muted? Does that say Steve Burlingame? I can't read that.
He's there.
Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize.
Should we call him?
Yeah. Mark?
He's clearly
technical issues, I could remove him from the meeting and see if he comes back in and clears up his issue, or we could just move on without him.
See if you could do that.
I'll eject him from the meeting.
And, okay, I just had one question of the applicant. I apologize. When did you purchase the house?
May 2013.
Okay, fine. So you were not part of the renovations that occurred in 1995, obviously, 1995, when the house was remodeled?
No.
Thank you very much.
That's right.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Mr. Riley?
Well, I think the next step, I'd like to have Patrick Ahern run through the changes proposed and the modifications they made in accordance with the suggestions from Sarah Korjeff.
Very good. Mr. Ahern, if you could come forward and, again, introduce yourself.
No.
For the members of the commission, hopefully you have both the revised application of 429 and the original application of March 21st. It's very possible that we're going to be referring to both during the meeting, or at least during this hearing, okay? In addition, if you don't have it with you for some reason, you get 2 demerits, and then Christina will be able to put up on the screen those applications and information if we need to refer to it. Sorry.
Should we,
No. You just turned it off.
Oh.
There you go.
should we be waiting to see if Steve's going to join?
Yeah, we kind of should.
We should.
Michelle, can you call him? Excuse me?
He's got to call in again.
I'm sorry, what was the question? Can you press the mic?
I thought it was said that Steve was going to be disconnected.
No, he was going to disconnect his connection
there
so
he
he
is
could
again.
reconnect. Steve? Steve, raise your hand. Steve, can you hear us? We can see you, Steve. Steve, if you can't hear us, then we can't proceed.
Well, did he answer his phone, Michelle?
Steve, can you hear us?
He's looking at his
Doesn't look
phone.
like he's acknowledging it. Steve? Can you hear me now? We can't hear you. I apologize. I guess we can edit all of this from the tape. Did you text him? Steve?
That's not going to solve anything, sir.
Sorry?
It's not going to solve anything. I think we should move on without him. He's clearly unable to connect.
Is he trying to connect? That's what I just can't tell.
Well, he's clearly on his computer, but, you know,
Yeah.
but he either doesn't have a microphone or doesn't,
I'm sorry, Bill, I can't hear you.
either doesn't have a microphone or the sound part of his computer is not working, which is unfortunate. So he can always
You-
come in by telephone, but he's got to have his phone with him.
But he's not answering the phone, Michelle?
Michelle, hold up your phone. So Steve can see it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. The
Wait a minute.
question is, can he see us? I know the IT department would like us to move on. They probably have other meetings to do, which they do. Steve, call.
Christina is sending a chat, and he's responding
Oh,
to her.
well, I don't know if that's going to work.
Well, he's responding.
But,
He's responding.
He has responded. I think Christina is going to let him know that we were going to try and move
he
ahead.
has responded?
Yes.
I apologize, folks.
Did you tell him to call in by telephone, Christina?
What's he saying?
I'm just telling him to call in by telephone that we're going to move on.
I really can't hear you. Go ahead.
Christina is telling him to call in by phone. If not, we're going to move on.
He's not what?
Please call in by phone, and if not, we are going to move on.
Without him. He's looking for his phone.
The joys of the technical age.
I know. I want to go over it. My boat goes in tomorrow morning. All right, we're going to give him 1 more minute. While we're waiting,
My boat's already in the water, Frank. How come yours isn't in the water?
excuse me?
My boat's already in the water. Why isn't your boat in the water?
Well, because I didn't give him a launch date, and I waited to the last minute with my back surgery. I thought I wasn't going to put it in until maybe June, July, but I decided I should put it in. It's going in Friday.
Oh, good.
All right, he's calling in. He's got the phone. Hey, all right. Mr. Burlingame, we have you. Steve, please acknowledge. Raise your hand, Steve. You don't have to talk.
I think he's trying to.
That was him, wasn't it?
He can't hear us.
Who's he calling?
Us.
The number that you read, maybe?
Channel 18 has given him the directions to call in.
Say again, I can't hear you.
Channel 18 has given him the directions to call in.
Okay, great. All right, be quiet, Frank. We all should be out cutting the grass or putting our boats in the water. Steve has told me he really wanted to participate, and that's why I'm bending over backwards, as we normally do for our members and the public. Even though our Channel 18 folks are not happy. Steve, you're going to owe me big time on this one. Oh, you've made your point, but I would do it for anybody. Ask Mark what's happening.
I'm hearing you now.
All right, Steve, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
All right, we're going to proceed now. Thank you very much, Steve.
Great.
You owe me for this one, buddy. All right.
To be sure.
We had almost a revolution here, but we're going to proceed. Okay, Mr. Riley, Mr. Ahearn, I apologize, sir.
Great. Well, thank you so much. So Last time, we referenced Sarah's Corgis' initial review of the project as the Historic Preservation Specialist for the Cape Cod Commission. And I just want to review what her original letter was, particularly on some key points, and then where we made some changes in
Very good.
response to her review.
Could you, while you're doing that, physically show the changes? So
Yes.
we understand?
Yeah, so
Thank
let me
you.
just start, and then I'll use this to go
Great,
along
thank you
with it.
very much.
So I'll just read from some of her excerpts to put it in context. So she stated that the Cape Cod Commission staff comments focus on potential impacts to the historic features of this building and what remains of its original form. While many of the proposed changes would have little impact on original features of the building, some of the proposed changes raise concerns. The proposed design appropriately preserves the original roof form and retains its prominence as the highest and largest part of the building. Changes to the east wall of the original structure and to the dormer on the south roof slope, however, impact some of the few features that have previously not been altered. And so what she went on to say was that significantly reducing the size of the east addition would preserve the character-defining profile of the original building form. She also stated that the proposed expansion of the south dormer is of concern because it would alter an original building feature. While the proposed walkout balcony can largely be hidden within the 1995 porch construction, the original roof dormer size and slope should be preserved. She went on to say that the proposed changes to building additions made in 1995 would generally not be considered substantial alterations if they do not alter the historic building form. As such, staff believes that the other proposed changes could be made without threatening the character-defining features of the building. Adding a second-story gable to the west addition would alter only a modest amount of the west wall of the original structure. Changing the style of porch piers and window openings on the south porch would also have little impact on the historic building form. Enclosing the area below the south porch would impact only the 1995 expansion, and the brick facing would help to differentiate it from the original building form. Proposed changes to the windows and door on the north facade and reincorporating original details visible in the 1978 historic inventory photo, where they have been lost, supports preservation of original architectural details. Finally, the proposal for a separate garage that is small in scale and has a lower roof height than the house will preserve the prominence of the original building. So that was Sarah's original report. Then we could move the. Okay. Let's go to the next
I
one.
have a request. Could we dim the lights just a little bit?
I'm
Please.
sorry, Dan, what's your question?
I just did it.
Oh,
Okay, great.
Ki-
That's
ki-
magical.
kindly address me before you speak, thank you.
Okay, so one of the features that Sarah wanted us to leave was the dormer of its original size, which we did. The next issue, if we go to the next drawing, please. One more. Okay. The other concern was on the east elevation. And what we did is we slid the addition over, and in doing so, we're able to create a 2-foot differential to further express the oversailing eave of the existing house in direct response to what she was suggesting. So at the chairman's request, she further reviewed our changes and prepared a memorandum that I will read from. And she states that the revised plans show the applicant will preserve the original size and slope of the south roof dormer, which is a character-defining feature of the building. The revised plans also show the applicant has shifted the proposed side L slightly to create more space, 24 inches, between the roof eave of the main structure and the roof of the side Ls. This change makes it easier to view the original roof slope and trim. She went on to say that, I believe the small scale of the proposed new addition and the fact that the original building profile will remain visible means the proposed alterations would not change the building's contributing status within the district. The Old Village National Register nomination notes that the district retains integrity largely because more recent construction and alterations have adopted the small scale, massing, materials, and simplicity of design, citing in other characteristics of their historic neighbors. The scale, massing, and materials of the proposed additions here seem to be keeping with that tradition. So in addition to that, if we could go back. Go back again, please. One more. Okay. So, as Sarah had mentioned in her original letter, the addition on the west, which is basically taking the 1995 flat roof addition and creating a gabled end, she very specifically stated that the volume and scale of this wing is significantly subordinate to the original structure. And in doing so, she acknowledged in her original letter that this was an appropriate solution. Likewise, we now have the same scale and mass of the east side, which, as demonstrated in the cross-section, shows a 2-foot clear differential. If we go to the section, the last drawing. Right. So again, this clearly shows in section that differential, and we believe that these changes are consistent with the guidelines and the recommendations that we were given from Sarah's report. In addition to that, all of the immediate neighbors have written letters of support. We've been very cognizant of the view corridors that other neighbors share looking down the lane and not blocking their views. I met with the McCarthys myself personally and sat out on their deck, and we all agreed clearly that this proposed work would have no impact with their long views, and they very much appreciated the fact that I went and spent some time with them. And I believe they've written letters of support as well.
Yes.
So I think in conclusion, we've worked carefully on this, not only with our clients. As I said, I usually like to be considered the first choice architect, but I'm the third choice, and hopefully the third one's the charm. I think we've got a really nice project here, that the integrity and character of what was the original cottage is preserved. In fact, the 1995 reconfigurations of the windows and entryway really are very negative in terms of establishing the historical context of the cottage. I believe that the work we're proposing will always have the cottage architecture celebrated and clearly understood, and that these additions will always be secondary to the original cottage in terms of volume and scale. And the use of the materials are all basically based on the original house. All of our details and the oversailing eaves are replicated in the additions and the wings. As Sarah acknowledged, using old brick masonry on the foundation to further create the podium, if you will, for the original cottage, I think speaks well to what we're trying to preserve. And I believe that the scalability and the scale of this project, once complete, I think, notwithstanding some concerns from a number of other people that have written in, I believe that this will be viewed as a very, very successful, historically sensitive project. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for that. Mr. Rowley, you want to say something else?
Yeah, I do.
Yes, sir.
After all, I'm a lawyer. I have to say something.
You gotta justify the expense.
The fee.
No. So I think the important thing for the commission members to keep in mind is whether this is a substantial alteration that affects the contributing nature of the structure in the old village. And I think that's where Sarah's comments on the modification, the most recent modification, are important. Because what she says that the alterations would not change the building's contributing status within the district, and the scale, siting, and mass of the materials are in keeping with the historic traditions of the neighborhood. Acknowledging the fact that buildings are altered over time. The question is the alteration in keeping with the historic traditions of the neighborhood? And I think Sarah's opinion is that these are, and accordingly would appreciate a vote in that vein, and so the Brigdens can move on with their modifications of their home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before I open the discussion to questions from the commission, the way we're going to do this, we're going to get questions and then read the letters and ask the public if they want to join in, and then we'll do the formal vote. We're throwing around a lot of words and information, and then for the members of the commission and the public, just to clarify what we're talking about here, as indicated, this building is in the National Register District. By being in the National Register District, it has some additional requirements for review. It is not in the Historic District. It is in the National Register District, so local historic district would have precedence. And as a result, in addition to our Chapter 158, the Historical Commission is required, in accordance with the guidelines which are provided by the Cape Cod Commission for referral of a building to the National Register District, our requirement is to, if in fact it is a contributing structure, to question whether the alterations or additions is inappropriate in terms of not being inconsistent with the predominant architectural style of the building. This is not a demolition, which is one of the other elements, and not a full demolition, but a substantial alteration. And then the question which was commenting is, does this alteration jeopardize its status as a contributing structure in the National Register District? So I just wanted to clarify that to not only the commission members, but also to the public, So that's what we're all about here. We're going to be discussing the issue of referral to the Cape Cod Commission first, which is our responsibility. We go around the room in terms of questions. We'll start with Ben and let's work around. Ben?
Well, is it questions or comments? I think that
Start over, Ben. And Ben, move the mic closer to you. There you go.
There we go.
And, comments, we're just not going to take a formal vote at this particular time. But
All right,
comments are
okay.
welcome.
Well, I think the thing that's important here is that the basic primary structure is recognizable and has been preserved. The two things that I got from a lot of the correspondence that we got from various people, including a person, Kim Longworth, 82 School Street, and the directors of the Old Village Association is they're not sure they like what's going on here, but they don't have a solution, but they say there must be a solution out there. Well, if they had a solution, I want to know, what is it? Number one, I think that these people have made substantial effort and that the primary building is preserved. I think, as far as I'm concerned, these are the most important accomplishments. And the only other comment I would have is all these people who are objecting, I'd like to know if you did any alterations on your property, if, when, and how.
All right.
And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ben. Stephanie?
I just took the last sentence of Sarah's letter a little differently. The scale, massing, and materials of the proposed additions here they're in keeping with the tradition, which is more massing, more materials, simplicity of design, siting, and other characteristics. So it can be taken two ways. It can be taken as we've already done a lot of massing there, and we're just continuing it, which is the way I take it, or it can be taken as the way you read it.
Thank you, Steph. Don?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my opinion that the proposal is not in keeping with the intent of the original Old Village creators who worked hard to preserve the historic neighborhood. The proposal would leave this modest, iconic cottage unrecognizable, in my opinion. The loss of existing material, I believe, is a major problem, and I might add, I believe there will be much more lost than is indicated in the hashtags that are on the plans. This said, I am prepared to propose a 540-day demo delay, or until we have given accurate measurements of the demolition of material or actual existing building material to be put in the dumpster, or until we have plans for a much smaller expansion that allows for the recognition of this old cottage.
Thank you. I guess I can, I'll wait to the end. Yes, Bob?
I'd like to ask a couple of questions of Mr. Ahern, if I might.
Sure, please. Just get a little closer to the mic so I can.
I don't think I can get much closer, but.
Oh, yes, you can.
Mr. Ahern, let's start with the south dormer, since that's pretty easy. How big was the dormer to begin with, and how big was your original proposal to, I guess, enlarge it? There are no dimensions, as Mr. Aikman mentioned on the plans.
It was to be enlarged 1 foot on either side.
Okay.
Can you say that again? I didn't hear.
The dormer was, in the original application, the dormer was to be enlarged by 12 inches on the left and 12 inches on the right.
And you've restored it to the original? You're keeping it as an original
Now we're
size.
keeping it as original, as Sarah recommended.
So it's back to the original size. Is that what you're
It's
asking?
back to the original, let's say, width. She mentioned the slope of the roof. Did you attempt to change that in your
No.
first presentation?
No.
No.
Okay.
So this-
Now,
sorry.
now, you've added a, I guess it's referred to as a walkout balcony, is that correct?
Yes.
How big is it?
If we go,
Matches the width of the dormer.
if we could go to the rear elevation. Next one. It basically matches the width of the dormer.
And how wide is that?
It's the, I don't have the plans in front of me.
Well, see, as Mr. Aikman mentioned, there's a problem here because we don't have dimensions for either the original or the proposed.
I'll give it to you in about 2 minutes.
That's not the point. It's supposed to be included in the plans. How are we supposed to judge, I made it smaller, other than you just saying it?
Well, we have in the drawings here, you can see the existing dormer up above, and the proposal shows that there's no change in the width of the dormer.
And how do we know that? Do we get a ruler out and measure it?
We're not proposing to change the dormer width at all.
These drawings are supposed to have dimensions on them so that we can make a judgment other than just a general value. We made it smaller, we made it bigger, and now we made it smaller again.
Well, again, you
Well,
can
I
you can see in the photograph,
Just a minute. That means the original drawing should have had a dimension on it. But the second drawing doesn't need a dimension on it because it's unchanged.
What was the first proposal a change?
The first proposal added 12 inches of width to either side.
All right, I hear you saying that. We don't have any drawings that show that. I mean,
That, I understand that, but we're not proposing that any longer. So why would we provide a drawing with a dimension on it if we're not proposing it?
all right, we'll go back to the the walkout balcony. It's the same width as, they're the same length as the dormer. How far does it extend from the door where you walk out?
if we go to the side, next drawing, please. 6 feet,
And how high is the, we'll call it the railing or whatever in front?
36 inches.
Okay. Now, Sarah mentions that, I believe, if I've interpreted her correctly, that walkout balcony would be hidden in the 1995 porch construction. Now, if you want to look at drawing number 7, it shows that walkout balcony, I guess, with the silhouette of a person on it. Yes, no?
Yes,
All right. Is that hidden by the 1995 porch construction?
it's encapsulated within the 1995 edition.
But it, I just don't understand that. You can see it quite clearly from the west or the east, for that matter.
I
It's in-
didn't
it's in
draft
the rear of the
Sarah's letter.
building.
Sarah's interpretation is that it was incorporated within the 1995 edition, and therefore felt that it was appropriate.
Okay, but if I felt that it's not encapsulated in that edition, would that also be a reasonable conclusion? Because I can see it?
Bob, just to clarify, see it from where?
From his drawings.
No, no, no.
Well,
Standing in front of the building?
No, standing on either side of the building.
Oh, but not from the street, or not from the front?
Oh, not from the street.
Okay, fine, I'm just trying to
Okay,
clarify
no,
for
that's
the
fine.
members of the commission
excuse
what
me,
you're
Bob.
asking.
It could be that her use of the word encapsulated has nothing to do with the ability to see it, but that because of the changes made in 1995, that balcony is not a change to be considered.
Okay, well,
I mean, that's, without Sarah here to further explicate, but that, I think that would be, because it is clearly visible. So
And
she
it's-
didn't say it wasn't visible, she just said it was encapsulated, so.
That's a semantic difference I do not understand.
Well, I guess we have to go to the dictionary. I don't know.
All right.
All right. Sarah's recommendation was, which you did not mention, removing or significantly reducing the size of the east addition would preserve the character-defining profile of the original building. Now, you've said that you have narrowed the size of the east addition by moving it towards the front, I guess I'll say.
We lined up the ridge of the addition with the main ridge.
Right, okay. Would you call that a significant, it's not a removal, obviously. Is that a significant reduction in size?
No, it's clearly not a significant reduction in size. The reason we didn't make a reduction in size is that, it wouldn't make, the goal is to provide a bedroom on the second level. If they had significantly reduced the size of it, then the bedroom wouldn't be usable, or the other space up there wouldn't be usable. And so they made that change and then waited for Sarah's comments. And Sarah clearly thought that providing sufficient distinction between the ridge, the height of the ridge of the addition, and moving it away from the overhangs of the roof, which she suggests are very, very important, achieve the goal without having a significant reduction. And so we think that we've successfully followed her suggestion.
Also, in addition, on her second correspondence, specifically addressing this issue, she does say it would be preferable to reduce the size of the proposed L and expose more of the east wall. But I believe the small scale of the proposed new addition and the fact that the original building profile will remain visible means the proposed alterations would not change the building's contributing status within the district. The Old Village National Register nomination notes that the district retains integrity largely because more recent construction and alterations have adopted the small scale, massing materials, simplicity of design, siting, and other characteristics of their historic neighbors. The scale, massing, and materials of the proposed additions here seem in keeping with that tradition.
Okay.
All right, now, that she did mention in there that you can still see the historic roof line, if you will. And that's another question I have, that the section you did shows the complete historic roof line, correct, of the main house?
Why don't you go to 8?
6 is good, but either one.
Oh, the new one is 8.
I know what it is, Frank, thank
There-
you.
There's the original roof line, and here's the proposed ridge of the addition, showing it's 2 feet lower than the original.
Right, but you can't see that roof line to the drawing to the left because the dormers interfere, right?
Well, you
Well,
can't,
that's a direct,
well,
let
you
me
can't-
finish, please.
you
That's-
can't see it
that's-
from the
Oh,
east.
so what, gentlemen?
I'm asking Mr.
Hold on.
Ahern
Whoa,
questions.
slow down.
Thank you.
Slow down. It's getting a little too testy here for me.
It's normal.
Everybody, take a breath. And Bob, I think you're asking Mr. Ahern a question. Let him answer,
Yes.
Please.
if you may.
Okay. So this is a side elevation of the entire building. It's not a three-dimensional representation. And in fact, the dormers are well within the middle section of the L, and therefore, the visibility of the oversailing eave is expressed. And I believe that Sarah has acknowledged that in her correspondence.
So what you're saying is you can see the eaves from the front of the house,
Yes,
and you're telling me I would be able to see that roof line from where that elevation is on the left?
if you're standing in the front of the house, if we go to the next elevation, please, straight. The other one?
Is that sheet 7? Yeah.
No, I want to see the front.
It's probably 3, I think.
3?
Okay. Okay, you can see that there's about 3 feet of space between the dormer and the oversailing eave. And if you're standing like over here, you're going to see all of this expressed the same way that it's expressed on this side of the cottage. And Sarah had acknowledged in her first correspondence, specifically addressing this issue, that this was an appropriate solution. And therefore, when we adjusted this wing, we basically created the same void, if you will, that she felt was appropriate on this elevation and on this west side, on the east side. So in fact, you will be able to see that oversailing eave, particularly noting that we're 2 feet lower on ridge, and also the space between the dormer and the oversailing eave is clear.
Thank you.
So you're saying basically that because of that it is an elevation in number 6, that's a misleading view, if you will?
No, that's a true, accurate, dimensioned elevation, an architectural elevation of the entire side of the house, looking from the addition to the main body of the house and the original dormer. It's an accurate drawing, and that's why we created the section to further understand and explain to the board that, in fact, not only do we have a space between the dormer and the main body of the house, but we also now have a lower elevation, so we have 2 feet of air, if you will, between the roof line of the wing and the original house.
The section does not show the dormer, correct?
Yes.
Right. So if in fact the dormer was on there, would it look like the drawing on the left and you would not be able to see part of the roof?
In a two-dimensional drawing, yes, but in reality, you'll be standing there. If we built a model and I put it in front of you, you would be able to see all of that exposed rafters expressed.
Okay. I want to go back to number 3, please. I'm looking at the, I don't know if massing is the right word, but volume, I guess, and trying to compare the historic central volume, as you've labeled it, as a, what is the area of that square that it fills? And looking at it, at the ridge height and with my ruler measuring the pieces, it looks like it's about 705 square feet. Does that seem right?
I don't understand the question.
Yeah.
There is the central volume, which you call that. What is the area of that? It's a rectangle.
Should be on the application.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Bill, I didn't hear you.
What's
Should
your-
be- should
what's
be
the
on the
point you're trying to
application.
make?
It's not.
Because it's not clear to any of us, I think, what.
Well, what the point I'm trying to make is if you take the volume of that, the area as you look at it,
Oh, gotcha.
and you add the 2 sides to it,
Yes.
that's going to total 693 square feet. So in terms of looking at that building from the parking area, it's basically it's a 98% increase in what you're going to see.
I don't follow your logic at all, so let me
It's-
try to
it's
do
your
it my
drawing.
way. All right?
Yeah?
So, right now, here is the facade of the house as it exists today. There's no change in volume, mass, or scale in the proposal. There's also a corner, a chunk of the house was removed. The original house, there's a chunk of the house removed, and there's this odd column floating in the corner of the house. Then there is this one-story addition with a railing detail up above. The only change on the west side is basically removing the railing and building a gable piece. Again, significantly lower than the main body of the house. So there's no change to the square footage, if you will, of the facade or the roof form, other than this small addition over here. The only thing that's new is the east wing that we're proposing. All of these other pieces are already there, and we're not changing them in terms of footprint or volume, other than this dormer and gable piece, which again, Sarah felt was appropriate.
Well, okay, you are changing, the east wing is additional, though.
Yes,
And the second floor on the west wing.
yes,
So that, if I can make a rough judgment, that's probably about 400 square feet, or maybe 450. And therefore, you're down to a 60% increase in size of the building when looking at it. And that, to
I
me, is...
don't agree with that.
Okay, well, then, if you had dimensions on it, maybe
I
we
can
would
tell
know
you
what it
I
was.
I can tell you what it is, Mr. Lear. Okay. The application is 637 square feet that we are modifying to the original 1920 structure.
That's not my question, though. I'm dealing with the volume that you're adding to the building, or when looking at it, the mass.
Again, nothing is being added here other than this second floor and then this wing. That's all we're adding.
Okay,
Bob,
understood.
I think we're at the point where I understand, he understands, and that's where we are.
Well, let me just make one more point, or two more points. As Mr. Aikman mentioned, that this is a contributing structure. It is a structure that was listed in that status in 2000, and that is what we are considering substantial changes to, not to the historic central volume. So a lot of what Sarah's saying about, well, the west wing doesn't really matter because that was added in 1995, I don't believe is relevant.
Well, she calls
So-
it historically inappropriate addition. Anyway.
The other point is, and just to emphasize my frustration with the lack of dimensions, is one of the instructions on the sheet, the application says, the building plan elevation drawings with dimensions for proposed demolition, addition, or new construction are, in bold caps, required for National Register applications. It's one of our problems here. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. No, Jane, I'm sorry.
Oh, why?
Jane, you're on. They're not voting. We'll get comments from, hold on, Jane. We'll get comments from both Sandy and Janet because they're allowed to comment, they're just not voting.
Oh,
But you're voting.
I forgot the rules for a minute.
I'm sorry?
I have struggled with this, and I've thought a lot about it, and I've studied architectural history, and
Jane,
to
get a
me,
little closer to the microphone. Pull it in. There you go.
to me, well, I moved it out to have a little space. To me, this goes from the simple to the complex in visual terms, and I think of things in that way. And the original house, to me, is not recognizable, even though the roof and the center portion is preserved. So I have a problem with that. But I agree with Bob that I thought the rules were that we were supposed to have dimensions with the drawings, especially the revised drawings. And what has not been mentioned before, at least I don't think so, is the addition of the shutters. Now, I love shutters. I have shutters on our house, and the new house looks very much like the one I grew up in. However, it does add to the massing effect, the crowding effect. So the whole look of it is more complicated than I think the simple lines of the Craftsman style is. That's one problem I have with it. Also, I agree with what Don and Bob have said already.
Thank you, Jane. Steve?
I have a couple of comments. First of all, and this is not being disrespectful at all, but we have two members, two veteran members of the commission who have strong associations with the old village. They or their spouses are either past or future officers of the village. And I think for the record, simply for the record, that those members should disclose that
They
as
did.
a potential conflict, and indicate for the record that that such past or present involvement will not lead to any confliction
Steve.
at all. So I think the public needs to feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, Steve, I just need a comment, if I may interrupt you. You know, the Old Village Association has always been an integral part of the Historical Commission and its members. And you know, and I understand your comments, and in fact, that's why I asked, you know, both Mr. Lear and Mr. Aikman, you know, to reemphasize the connection and to so make it. And as far as I'm concerned, we have fulfilled, and they have fulfilled, all of the requirements that we legally need to do. And I you know, I hear you, but why don't we move on to
No, Steve,
relative to comments?
Steve wasn't able to hear it, that's all. All you have to do is say, he made the statements Steve has requested already, just Steve
I'm not
wasn't able
sure.
to hear it.
I'm not sure what your point is.
I apologize because I missed that portion of the meeting. So
all you had to say.
It sounds like what you wanted to mention has been accomplished, and I appreciate that.
Okay, good.
Secondly, I think that the word that I would emphasize is sensitivity, and I think there's a great deal of it here. I think there's some sensitivity, certainly by the architect, even the initial rendering that they proposed, I thought was pretty sensitive to the neighborhood, to the status of its of that structure, etc. I think Sarah Koshef has done the same, has had the same sensitivity as she's reviewed it, and it had a very realistic reaction to the alterations, particularly the alterations made subsequent to the initial proposal. And I think the third one that I can't lose track of is the immediate neighbors and their attitude towards it. The general comments about change, we don't like it, is largely coming from people who live in the district, but not who live in the specific neighborhood where the house is. So I'm very concerned about the fact that we are sensitive to the immediate neighbors' comments, and less sensitive to the comments made by people who live several streets away.
So you're inclined, I'm sorry, Steve.
No, and I just with those comments, and I think that from what I've seen from Mr. Ahern's presentation and the questions of the commission and the comments made by Sarah, that everybody understands this is a very sensitive piece of property. It's unique in the neighborhood because it's much newer than much of the old village. And it was unique to begin with. It remains unique. It may have changed somewhat, but I don't think it's not like we've torn down a three-quarter cape and building a raised ranch. Everything to me is quite reasonable and sensitive to what the spirit of the district is, and I appreciate the efforts made by Sarah and the architect and the owners to react to that. That's it.
Thank you very much. I'm turning down my hearing aids. I apologize to you. I didn't hear him. I guess I'm next. Oh, wait a second. Janet and Sandy, you have any comments?
I've been to visit this house many times and check, look at it from different angles. take into consideration the views of the people that say they're going to be affected by any change that might be made. And while there's no doubt that at one time this house had historic significance, that significance is lost with the modifications and additions made in 1995, when it caused much of it to lose, it lost its architectural integrity, whatever it had of, that cottage look. The proposed changes do a reasonable job of trying to preserve the original style of the house, I think, while improving the appearance of the additions and adding living space, which is the goal of the Brigdens, is what I'm hearing. I think they want to live in this house. And right now, having been in the house, touring the house, considering buying the house at one point, they need to make these changes, I think. While the house is located within the National Historic District and therefore reviewed by the Cape Cod Commission, the last paragraph of the opinion indicates the representative from the Cape Cod Commission has no objection to the proposed alternatives. So, I mean, they've made it quite clear. They're on their third architect. They're trying to obtain approval so they can live in Chatham. They own the property next door. What more can they tell us that they want to be living in Chatham? They can outweight us and then do whatever they want to do, like they've done on Seaview and other places in town. So why don't we work with these people? That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Janet. Sandy?
I really don't have an awful lot to say. Yikes, it's a lot of house. I appreciate the changes that Mr. Ahern has made at the request of Sarah Korja. It's a lot of house.
Thank you. I guess I'm last. Did I, you already spoke, right?
Oh, yeah, but I just wanted to say something quickly. On page 5, when you look at the east elevation with all the roof lines, it looks to me like a gaggle of geese are taking off. And I didn't know if that was something that should be in the historic district.
All right. Last but not least, this is a complex meeting as far as I'm concerned. We haven't even gotten through it yet. We got a ways to go, but let me just comment. I think some things have been said a little bit out of scale relative to what we're doing here, but that's everybody's right for their individual opinions. I think Janet, hit something really very important. This house was built in 1913, and somehow in 1995, I don't even know if the Historical Commission was around, and they allowed a relatively inappropriate addition, historically inappropriate addition to be made to this house, which kind of throws the whole house off kilter. And I think Sarah Korjev's comments that related to that any changes to that historically inappropriate addition, are okay, because it's an inappropriate addition to begin with and probably should not have been allowed. But that's neither here nor there. So we have to deal with it. I think this is a craftsman house. I actually had lived in a craftsman house for about 35 years. So, there are certain things that it has as an historic property. The exposed rafters, the brackets, the corner boards, which were going to be eliminated and restored back to the Craftsman era, 10-inch singles, et cetera, things that I think were pointed out in the application, that's what they're attempting to do. I think, as Sarah, Sarah has made it very clear that the additions in these changes do nothing, which would meet the criteria relative to a change to a contributing structure in the National Register District. Now, we have relied upon Sarah many, many times, and I think we should be relying on her again in terms of keeping the tradition of whether or not referral. If we refer this to the Cape Cod Commission, I'll bet you $50 or I'll bet you $500, they're going to approve it. And, the purpose of this review, quite candidly, is to come to some kind of compromise so we don't have to refer it to the Cape Cod Commission. That's not our objective. Our objective is to find a way to work something out that we could, in fact, not refer it to the Cape Cod Commission. They don't want us to refer it to. Yeah, that's part of the requirement, if in fact it meets certain criteria. And the specific criteria is the changes in addition so significant that it would jeopardize the historical significance of the property? And I think we're missing it with some of these comments. I would further say, the comments about dimensions, we're reviewing concepts here. We're not reviewing the final drawings. We're reviewing concepts. And yes, we would like dimensions on drawings to see relative scale and all that. But before the application is approved, those drawings come back to the chairman to sign off. Yeah, we could ask for additional dimensions if in fact it's going to make a change in our opinion. So I'm feeling positive that we should approve this, and I hope the other members of the commission would approve. I do have one negative comment. The chimney.
The chimney?
The chimney. Go back to sheet 3. Frank Messina, the chimney guy. Okay. I think if you go back to the Form B, which was generated relative to making it, it talks about the simple chimney.
We can match the original.
And you have chosen to elaborate on
We
it.
corbelled it up a bit.
Yeah,
We could keep it simple.
Thank you. Are you going to, is it going to be a working chimney, or?
Yes.
It will be. Okay, so the fireplace will be kept inside?
Yes.
We have no jurisdiction on the inside, but I was just interested. I know my Craftsman house had a monstrous fireplace, which was typical of that era, large fireplaces in the turn of the century. Not a gas fireplace like they do today. Okay.
The tall, high ones are called Rumford fireplaces.
Say again?
The tall, high fireplaces are called Rumford fireplaces.
Bumper?
Rumford.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, okay. All right, at this particular point, hopefully we've got it all out. Now we're going to proceed to read I'm going to proceed to read the correspondence relative to pro and con relative to this application. I'm not going to read Mr. Ahern's letters. We all have it, and hopefully we've all read it, and they're part of his application, so we don't need to read them. The purpose of this is the letters from the public, which are technically not part of the application. We have a requirement, or at least a tradition, to read it into the record. So, okay, and then we'll ask the members of the public if they want to add anything more to what they have said in the written record. Here we go. April 14, 2002. To the Historical Commission from the Winifred Lear, from the President of the Old Village Association. The Old Village was formed in 1997 to protect the historic nature and architectural beauty and integrity of the Old Village area in Chatham. In 2001, the association was a co-sponsor with the Historical Commission in the successful applying to list the Old Village as a National Register Historic District. 32 Ida Lane is contributing structure in the district and therefore subject to the Commission's jurisdiction as being historically significant. The Board of Directors have reviewed the application submission of the above matter and has a number of comments. Although the proposed ridge height has not significantly increased from this existing building, the OVA believes the exterior additions and renovations are substantially alter the appearance that is essentially unrecognizable as the present bungalow. The drawings on page 2021 of the submission, they're referring to the original submission, at the current floor area of the house of 3,267 will be expanded by 43%. In addition, 49% of exterior materials, 1,474 square feet, 72 square feet, or 45% were removed. The later modification greatly exceeds the 25% threshold for a substantial alteration and suggests referral to the Cape Cod Commission. Just as important as these percentages, the photographs, existing versus proposed drawings, and artistic renderings of page 9 to 18 of the submissions are clear evidence that observers who visit the neighborhood would not recognize this building if it were to return into the future after the alterations. Therefore, the proposed work materially diminishes is historically significant. The OVA appreciates the owner's desire to create additional living space, but we believe there are ways to accomplish that goal without substantially changing the existing structure, the existing historic bungalow. Therefore, we request the Commission find the proposed work will materially diminish the historical significance of the building and impose a demolition delay of 540 days and refer the case to the Cape Cod Commission. April 24th. I am the owner of 20 Hammond Hill, a near neighbor of 32 Ivy Lane, which requests permission for a very extensive remodel. I am opposed to the extreme change to the neighborhood and agree fully with the objections sent to you by the Old Village Association attached. Excuse me? Oh, sorry, thank you. Andrew, G-E-L-S-E-Y, Gelsey? April 25th. This is from John and William Horrocks. Did I say that right? Close enough. Okay. To the Chatham Historical Commission, for the reasons outlined below, we urge the Historical Commission to reject the plans proposed for the Brigham property, 32 Ivy Lane, by architect Ahern. An historic registered district is a collection of contributing structures located in a particular area. Its purpose is to preserve these buildings as they existed at the time of the district form. In the present case, the Old Village National Register District, formed in 2002, lies in the area east of Mill Pond and Little Mill Pond, stretching from 315 Main Street out to the Lighthouse property and ending at the beginning of Bridge Street and Morris Island Road. Change to the historic district occurs by means of changes to individual contributing structures. Such changes are incremental and may be accidental, e.g. fire, or more unusually by changes implemented by the property owner. Observing an historic district should be a pleasurable experience like visiting with old friends. Chatham's Old Village is a popular destination for visitors to our town who appreciate the 19th century aura. To preserve means the same. To preserve means to stay the same. The people of Chatham who approve the formation of the Historic Register District want the Old Village to remain as is, as far as possible. This will happen only as far as each individual component retains its sameness with the original contributing structure. Changes may be noted by an observer, but there will still be recognition. The proposed changes to a contributing structure to an owner's property needs to pass the sameness test and a recognition test. Okay? That wants the needs of the property owner, the wants and needs of the property owner should be taken into account, but so should its responsibility to the district as a whole and as the owner of a contributing structure. The proposed modified structure should retain original degree of sameness and must be recognizable as the original contributing structure. The historic Russell Cottage has been considered for demolition and/or modification. In 1995, the owner of 32 Ivy Lane property added a one-story flat roof west wing to the original cottage. This change added 324 square feet to the 944 footprint cottage. The new addition satisfied the owner's need for more space and an elevated platform to enjoy the scenic surroundings. No historical commission approval was necessary. The change passes both the sameness and recognizable test. Okay, the original cottage is retained essentially as it was in full view. The 1995 volume of the structure based on square footage, the first and second floor increased from 1671 to 1995 square feet, a 19.4% increase. In contrast, the increase in volume now proposed by the architect Ahern for the Brigham residence is from 1995 square feet to 3,052 square feet, 53% increase. With this sizable increase in volume, plus the addition of roof ridges only 2.5 feet lower than the center section of both the east and west wings, one sees high ridges spanning the entire 64-foot north elevation. The proposed structural change is inconsistent with the sameness criteria. A visitor would not recognize the new house as it relates to the former contributing structure, thus decreasing the size of the historic district by one. Architect Ahern, on page 4 of this application, the commission outlines the key feature analysis and design approach. He lists a range of architectural details that is applied in formulated design. A contributing structure is not a gathering of features that once were incorporated to early invasion of the building in question is determined from old photographs. A contributing structure is a building that existed in time and had become part of an application for the formation of a historic district, including any historical commission-approved changes that subsequently happened. It is not a replication of a building from the past. Adding architectural feature from the building history may be desirable, nice touch, but does not necessarily compensate for changes which destroy the sameness and recognizability of the structure. Are you tired yet? Okay, April,
Would you like one of us to spell you?
no, that's all right, I'm having fun. April 25th, 2022, from Roberta Williamson Seymour to the Historical Commission. I am writing as a member of the Old Village Association and longtime owner of the Old Village, in the Old Village, 89 Water Street. I reviewed the plans for renovation and expansion of 32 Ivy Lane. It appears the proposed work would be significantly diminish the historic character of the building, rendering it almost unrecognizable as the building is now. I ask the commission impose a demolition delay and/or refer the case to the Cape Cod Commission. Thank you for your service to the town. You're welcome. May 1st, 2022, from Nancy Kerner. I got it right? Son of a gun. To the members of the commission. In my opinion, the plans presented at 32 Ivy Lane bear little resemblance to the charming bungalow that was considered to be historically significant in 2002. The placement and number of windows on the front facades of the plans completely changed the appearance. We are a very small area of Chatham that has been listed in the Registry of Historic Places because so many of the buildings within this area are historically special. The goal, not to redo, renovate, or replace. Instead, we must strive to preserve. If we let these buildings be significantly changed one by one, we will soon lose the charm of this area as a whole. Break. I'm approaching that. Mr. Aikman asked me if I wanted a 5-minute break. If you guys can take it, I can take it. This is May 11th. Oh, my goodness. It does go on. This is a letter from, it's part 2 from the Board of Directors of the Old Village Association. We, the directors of the Old Village Association, whose principal mission is the preservation of Chatham historical legacy, are stewards of the Old Village National Register Historic District. We protect the architectural heritage, one contributing structure at a time. At this moment, we're concerned with the possible irreversible damage to the historic Russell Bungalow at 32 Ivy Lane, a contributing structure to our National Register District, which the owners of the property wish to partially demolish and replace with a new construction as described in the Historical Commission application 22004. We are mindful of the owners. We are mindful of the wants of the owners, but we feel that it is vital importance to preserve the architectural heritage of the original craftsman-style bungalow. The key features need to be preserved in a recognizable manner so that residents and visitors to historic districts can appreciate them for years to come. 1. Architectural changes to preserve the distinctive east wall historic craftsman-style bungalow. Architect Ahan's proposed modification to the original application reviewed by the Historical Preservation Specialist of the Cape Cod Commission, Sarah Korjeff. Ahern replies to earlier comments in a letter accompanied by what he says is design adjusted to conform to recommendation. He excludes extensive quotes from Cordieff's letter, major concerns that Cordief raises. Changes to the east wall of the original structure in the dormer south roof slope, however, impact some of the features that have not been previously altered. And then in the next paragraph, she says, the proposed east addition in a small scale mansion step back from the main structure with a lower ridge line, but it screens the and alters the distinctive profile to the original east wall. And finally says that removing or significantly reducing the size of the east addition would preserve the character-defining profile of the original building form. It is clear, despite statement by the architect stating that his modification been in full compliance with Cordieff's recommendation, that the most important recommendation, namely the proposed east wing, should be removed or significantly reduced in size and not be carried out. The two illustrations on the following page reveal that problem. First, a photograph of the current cottage taken from the northwest location. From the location on Ivy Lane, distinctive profile, the east wall is clearly visible. The second figure of the architect's computer graphic presentation of how his design, once built, looked from approximately the same vantage point. It is immediately apparent that the east wing addition screens and obscures the distinctive profile of the east wall. Since there appears to be no practical way to significantly reduce the size of the proposed east wing, the OVA board requests the proposed east wing be eliminated in order to conform with the recommendation of the preservation specialist of the Cape Cod Commission. I think I understand what you're saying. The replacement of the white corner boards with historically woven corners, as well as the use of clear cedar porch, are welcome additions. So we got agreement. Okay. Two, gross floor area of proposed changes and additions are set forth in the email of 4/26/22 to the Chair of the Historical Commission from Ms. Sarah Cordief of the staff Historical Preservation Specialist of the Cape Cod Commission. Any proposal, I think you're quoting, any proposal to alter or expand a contributing structure in a National Register district that exceeds 24% must be considered by the Historical Commission and could be determined a substantial alteration referred to the Cape Cod Commission for a DRI review. Notwithstanding the above critical requirement, the information is not separately addressed in the original application or attached material. See page 20, where it is subsumed, SUBSUMED, with the individual totals of each floor, with second floor additions alone being decreased by a huge 85%. Nor does it appear the proposed modification, the first submitted to the Historical Commission just before the hearing took place on May 3rd. Our own calculations based on the total gross floor area existing structure as set forth on page 2. The application itself, 3,263 square feet plus 1,405 square feet of additions. This total of 4,668 square feet, or approximately a 41.3% increase. This 43% is far above the threshold and constitutes almost half of the existing contributing structure, whose most vital element is the Craftsman bungalow portion, which forever be dwarfed by either of the original application or the proposed modifications allowed. The Cape Cod Commission Act should be interpreted in such a way should not be interpreted, I misread that. That should not be interpreted in such a way as to allow one or more massive inappropriate additions to be built upon the core of one of the few or perhaps only Craftsman bungalow contributing structures situated in the very special Old Village National Register district of Ivy Lane itself. The Chatham Reconnaissance Report, which was prepared by a separate study group under the auspices of Mass Department of Conservation and Recreation on the Cape Cod Commission 2010, strongly supports the joint efforts of the Chatham Historical Commission and the Cape Cod Commission to protect the historically significant assets from massive inappropriate additions. 3, the proposed demolition of existing areas of the building. When the Old Village Association National Register District was formed in 2001, the presumption was that it would serve to minimize destruction of existing materials in the contributing structures that were approved for listing at that time. The proposal pushes the envelope to an unacceptable degree, with almost 40% of exterior walls slated for demolition. The application shows a percent of material to remain for each elevation. Simple math generates a percentage to be demolished. A submitted modification contains no revised percentages. Therefore, we can only comment on initial application. In the application on page 21, north elevation shows 70% of material to remain. This means 30% demolition. The south elevation shows 55% to remain. That means 45% demolition. The east elevation shows 66% to remain. That means 34% demolition. The west elevation shows 61% to remain. That means 39% demolition. Mr. Riley's sitting down, huh? The summary lists the total area of 3,760 square feet, 68 square feet, with the modifications of 1,472 square feet, a total to remain of 2,296 square feet. The percentage to remain is 61%. An important fact which is noted is that the total of 39% of existing material we destroyed in order to accommodate the bungalows additions and the changes to the windows and doors. The Chatham Historical Commission has always been sensitive to the preservation of existing materials. We hope that will be the case for this proposal, and the opportunity to communicate to the Cape Cod, to the Commission, our concerns. We appreciate the opportunity to communicate our Commission our concerns on this and related preservation matters. Sorry. Finally, we have identified a component of the calculation of the increase in gross floor area. Finally, we have identified a component in the calculation increase of the floor area. Sorry, didn't understand that. Page 20 presents an analysis of this increase for each of the 3 levels of the structure. The basement level on the right is not crossed out, yet this area is being added. This floor area has the same square footage as the area on the first floor. In round numbers, about 400 square feet. When this is included in the square footage increase of 53% instead of 40%, in our opinion, this basement addition to the west wing adds an inappropriate extra mass, as the south elevation on page 13 and 16. See previous page. May 11th. This is to the Commission from Kim Longworth, 82 School Street. When I have visitors to Chatham, I like to take them on a walking tour of the Old Village. They're always impressed with the way our neighborhood tells this story, tells its history through the houses. I point out to them the classic circa 1819th century I point out to them the classic 18th and 19th strategy of additional spaces to the, okay guys, I'm sorry. I point out to them the classic 18th, 19th, 17th, 19th century strategy adding additional space to homes, I'm sorry. Additions to one end of the house smaller than the original that expand the valuable space but do not interfere with the visual integrity of the original dwelling. A perfect example of that is 239 Main Street. The square footage of the house seems from the outside to be quite large, yet the portion of that faces the street clearly stands out as the original. The characteristic Greek Revival architecture for which the old village is known. A strategy that preserved the original house is not employed in the revised 429 proposal for renovations and additions to the Brigham residence on 32 Ivy Lane. The proposed plan, original craftsman bungalow, is completely subsumed by the additions of either side. There is no visual delineation that preserves the original architecture. If this house was somewhere else in Chatham, I suppose the loss of integrity of the original house would be regrettable but permitted. In a National Historic District, it is unacceptable. The design being proposed is tantamount to tearing down the house and building a new one, different house in its place. It would be particularly egregious to lose and extinguish the original appearance of the house, given that the craftsman bungalow style is not otherwise well represented in the village. I respect the Brigham's desire to create a home environment that suits them, but they have an obligation to the community that they are in to preserve the most valuable asset of that community. I am confident a creative architect can find a better way to accommodate the needs of the Brigham family while still preserving what makes the old village an acceptable place, but not the most convenient. It may not be the most convenient accommodation, but it is a convenience that owners seek above all else. And they should consider building in a neighborhood where the primary value is not historic nature. Okay, heavy. Okay, here we go. We have read all the con, now we have the pro. Mr. Marion, would you want to say something?
Yes, I just wanted to just make one comment regarding the definitions under substantial alteration. It states in the bylaw that the complete demolition of a historic building will be considered a substantial alteration and thus referred to the Cape Cod Commission. Although demolition of additions to the original or historic structure that are determined not to have architectural or historic significance would generally not be considered a substantial alteration.
Yes.
So the point is, all these conversations about calculations and square footage and things like that, when you start to include the 1995 renovations and additions, it skews the numbers, and I don't think it really is reflective of the reality of the preservation of the historic house. I just wanted to go on the record for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to propose a 5-minute recess.
Okay, I thought we were close. No, does everybody feel we need a recess? No? No?
I'm glad to stand up for a few minutes.
All right, we're going to stand, but we're not going to leave. Oh, okay. We are unfortunately going to be taking a 5-minute recess. I apologize. Hold on, guys, hold on. They need notice, and this is live television, gentlemen. Mark, are we okay? Give me the thumbs up. Okay, good. Sorry.
think we should do that. The Rooster should tell them. They just don't want to share it. Oh, this is all my lot. Maybe I can't do that. I guess I really, you know, I have the impression, I get if they want to live in space, I don't know what they're gonna do. And they, you know, they own that property next door. They bought that antique. So you drive in the property, okay? And you know that little complex next to them? They own that too. They bought that last year. Last year. Yeah. Exactly. The one that the dream home down there that you said might get washed away there eventually. So they picked that up and they're gonna leave it for now. I understand it's an antique. May use it for extra bedroom. It does have a room. Yeah. Oh, instead of on the. I see. As far as what they look at, I went over. So what they look out at isn't what you used to look out at. You know, changes that have been made in those big places on Bridge Street. They're looking at these monsters now that were never there. And there were cottages there before. And so in a way, their view's been wrecked by. Oh, you mean the marsh or the pond? Actually, there is water there underneath all that. Oh, I see. Is it the town's property or? Yeah. Yeah. They don't see the ocean. No, yeah, I didn't think. Out of one bedroom, they do. Right. Or they used to. I don't know. But I just, I think, or the impression I have, they want to retire here because she's from Massachusetts. And so they want to live here. Yes, for now, because of this job. But they're going to retire here, is my understanding. So they want to get enough room with the kids. You know, they've got 2 kids. Anyway, it's a hard call because it's a lovely little enclave in there, you know. That's a problem. Yeah, I know, it's tough. Anyway, that's all I got to say. Glad everybody's here. The gang. I think. The gang's here. I don't know how to read this. They've got the red dots. Michelle's got his red dot. Every dot. But they could, I mean, they could wear these and do those people that lied to us, across from Chatham and then those ones from California, and then just wreck that whole thing. I don't think they would. Okay, guys. But anyway, I don't think so.
Time limiting on talking. Pardon? Oh, I know, quite honestly, I read them, but I wanted to read them. And when you read it out loud, you get a better, and that's why I stopped a couple times.
The applicant's just supposed to know if you can read the letters that were
Maybe
favored
we
as
should
well.
call out
No.
for lunch, what do you think?
Of course. Hold on.
Well, I think it's a fair question. Close.
Okay, is everybody ready? Jane? Janet? You ready? Sandy? Yes. Oh, good. Ben? Steve?
Yes.
All right. Steve, we're not on yet. By the way, you know, if you're having technical problems, the IT department would be happy if you came in sometime and they'll walk you through the process. I'm serious.
I don't have the, I have a different screen than I ordinarily do. I only have a half screen pretty much.
All right.
I have the camera, the mic, buttons, but
All right, well, all
nothing seems to change.
right, I'm gonna have to cut you short because they give me a high sign here.
All right, all right.
I'm getting the hook. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the, I forgot what date it is, the May 17th, 2022 meeting of the Historical Commission. We took a 5-minute break and we're reconvening. At this particular point, I will continue reading the letters from the public before we conclude the process or get closer to concluding. Okay, I have 4 letters. The first letter was written on April 12th, 2022. It's from Adam and Susan Wagner, W-E-G-N-E-R, to the Commission. We are writing you to enthusiastically support John and Kate Brigham's plan for their Chatham home at 32 Ivy Lane. We understand that one of the Commission's role is to review plans for substantial alteration to historic properties within the Old Village National Register Historic District. Further, your mandate includes promoting preservation of Chatham's historic resources and maintaining the importance of these resources to Chatham's unique sense of place. With that in mind, we considered the Brigham's proposal and cannot think of a better caretakers of 32 Ivy Lane property. We have known the Brighams for many years, and like we have a profound commitment to the town of Chatham and being caretakers to our wonderful home. John and Kate have always been cognizant and appreciative of the location of their home in the Old Village. The history associated with that part of town, its place in town history, and the need to consistently consider preservation interest in terms of upkeep and maintenance. We have reviewed the Brigham's plans and are thrilled at the approach that they and their architect have taken regarding the properties, providing necessary upgrades, expansion, and repairs, while at the same time acknowledging the location of their family. We think it is quite clear that this proposal continues their commitment to be good neighbors, dedicated homeowners, and work within the confines of the rules surrounding alterations to historic properties. We can think of no better stewards of 32 Ivy Lane and hope you agree. John and Kate's plans do not create a home that is out of place, unusual, or aesthetically unpleasing. The renovated home will not encroach in an unnecessary way and will not interfere with the historic nature of the property. We can think of no better stewards for 32 Ivy Lane and hope you agree. We hope you support their plans and appreciate the care they will give to the project. Cheers. April 12th, 2022. This is from Rebecca Smith Coggins. Dear Commission, I am writing a letter in support of application 22004 located at 32 Ivy Lane. I own the property that abuts on the northeast side of 32 Ivy Lane at 71 Silverleaf Avenue. I understand that the owners, John and Kathleen Bragan, that their plan fully, I understand from the owners, John and Kathleen Brigham, that their plan fully complies with the requirements and are not seeking any variance. I'm sorry, I misread that. They expect to be under the 15% lot coverage and build within any setbacks and comply with Conservation Commission recommendation. From the architect's drawings, it appears that they are keeping with the historical look of the house. For this reason, I support the application. April 17, 2022, to Ms. Clark. We are the owners of 17 Hammond Lane at the corner of Ivy Lane. Our house looks down on the Brigham property. We have seen their plans, talked with them, spoken with their architect, Patrick Ahern. The proposal is tasteful, in keeping with the old village, and we support the proposal. Edward, Crystal, and Philip McCarthy. Last but not least, April 25th, 2022, from John D. O'Brien and Thaler Collins O'Brien, Joseph O'Brien, excuse me. It's to Historical Commission. We write in support of application 20004. We know this project of John and Kathleen Bergen's property located at 32 Ivy Lane, Chatham, Massachusetts, 02633, will honor our little lane in our beloved old village. Joe and I are neighbors who own 14 Ivy Lane. We hope that this letter encourages the Historical Commission in the town of Chatham to approve 32 Ivy Lane's architectural drawings and proposal. This beautiful historical restoration proposal is every indication of honoring the original cottage, restoring the symmetrical balance of the house, and keeping the home's integrity in sync with Chatham's charming aesthetic. Thank you. We look forward to seeing the requested proposal approved. Please let us know if there's anything else we can do to help. Sincerely. Well, okay. We're at that point where we normally ask if any of the members of the public online or here would like to speak for or against the application. We've got a lot of letters here. I would hope that any members of the public who want to speak will speak, keep their comments limited, and also just try not to repeat stuff which was already read.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good.
May I take the podium?
Absolutely. So nobody wants to speak other than Mr. Pagan? Okay, good. Just trying to get a sense of where we are in terms of time, Norm.
Okay. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name, for those of you who don't know, is Norm Bacon, and my wife.
Microphone.
What do you want me to do?
Is the mic on? Is the yellow?
Push and the green button will come on.
Well, hold on.
There's a red button here.
Yeah, just press it. Did it become
I got
green?
it. I'm sorry. Okay.
Very
We'll
good.
start
Who caught
again
that?
quickly.
See?
My name is Norman Pakin, and my wife and I reside full-time at 14 Sunset Lane in the Old Village section of Chatham. We were fortunate enough to purchase our house in 1966 when we were only summer residents. We came here full-time in 1987. And since that time, both Carol and I have been deeply involved in historic preservation within our town, including my own service on this commission for over 11 years, and both of our efforts, Carol and mine, to help form the Old Village Association and the National Register District itself, which was finally approved in 2001. I'm providing you with this background information only because the hearing today on 32 Ivy Lane, both under the Town Demolition Delay Bylaw, Chapter 158, and the National Register District Cape Cod Commission Act, are part of the continuing effort to retain the historic integrity of the Old Village. Pursuant to the process which established this district in 2001, all houses and properties were individually reviewed by our preservation consultant, Ms. Candy Jenkins, who prepared the architectural description of Massachusetts Form B, which I believe is in your packet. I want to direct your attention to the following items contained within that architectural description of 32 Ivy Lane. First, and I'm quoting from her, "The house is a good example of a craftsman-style bungalow constructed in 1925 and remodeled in 1995. And her second quote, which I want to cite, "The broken roof style of the new veranda complements the original style. The origins of this house remain clear despite these modern changes. When all of the Form Bs in the district were proposed and completed, they were then forwarded for a required review to the State Historic Preservation Office, which in Massachusetts is the Massachusetts Historical Commission. And as part of this process, 32 Ivy Lane was designated as a contributing house. And this included the 1995 additions. And I want to repeat that. The house was designated as contributing, and that specifically included the 1995 additions. All property owners within the proposed district, including the owners of the then owners of 32 Ivy Lane, were given an opportunity to review this designation and to approve or oppose the district itself. To my knowledge, and my personal knowledge, the then owners of 32 Ivy Lane did not dispute such designation as a contributing structure, nor did they oppose the district itself. And the final vote was overwhelmingly in favor of a National Register district where only a bare majority would have been required. Now, only now, for the first time, do we have someone who is questioning the existing designation of 32 Ivy Lane as a contributing structure, and further asking this commission to take formal action to treat 32 Ivy Lane as a non-contributing structure under the regulations. And I'm referring to Architect Ahern's letter to Chairman Messina of 18 April. Because I believe that such an action is not authorized, and I'm referring here now to the statement that this commission should redesignate this structure as a non-contributing structure, I reached out to the Massachusetts Historical Commission and the State Historic Preservation Office because I wanted to get from them what I believe to be the law. And I have received, and I'm going to read to you and into the record and submit to the chair. The letter, it came by email from Miss Jennifer B. Doherty, the local government programs coordinator for the Massachusetts Historical Commission. And she states as follows: the contributing / non-contributing status of a property within a National Register district of historic places cannot be changed by a property owner or a local historical commission. There is a process that must be followed for amending the National Register nomination through the Massachusetts Historical Commission and the National Park Service. Thank you, Jennifer B. Doherty. I think this is important because what is mixed up here is the 1995 edition, which in Form B, the official form that is required when a National Register district is to be designated. That 1995 edition was recognized as part of this contributing structure. And that's important because at that time, 1995, the property could have been designated non-contributory, but it was not. Why? Because, as Ms. Jenkins said, the 1995 edition was not, in her language, the origins of the house remain clear despite these modern changes. Therefore, I hope that this commission gives careful review to this and at the same time continues its 540-day delay under a separate Chatham Town Bylaws, Chapter 158, which is effectively separate from the determination here under the Cape Cod Commission Act, the advice thereof. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're at that point where we need to finalize this discussion. I don't really want to get into a debate over whether or not we consider the House, the subject not contributing. I don't think we're doing that. It is contributing. I think we reaffirmed it's contributing structure. And whether or not the issue is whether or not we consider the changes being proposed, as Sarah said, would significantly alter it in such a way that it would no longer be considered contributing structure. And I think Sarah's quite clear that she feels it would still be contributing structure. So having said that, guys, I think we're done. I would really like at this particular point, unless someone is really dying to may say something, let's just take a roll call. And the motion would be to refer the application to the Cape Cod Commission. Let's do that first, and then we can deal with 158. Bob, do you agree that's appropriate?
Yeah, I was going to ask you how you wanted to do it.
Yeah, well.
I was going to ask you how you wanted to go about it, so
If we
that's
do the
fine.
Cape Cod Commission referral, then we can deal with 158.
All right, okay. So, motion number one is I move that the Chatham Historical Commission confirms that the home dwelling building located at 32 Ivy Lane is a contributing structure in the National Historic Register District.
Okay, second?
Second it.
Second by Mr. Aikman. Okay, what we're voting for here is just reaffirming that it is a contributing structure in the National Register District. Mr. Lear?
Now, do we want to say
Sorry?
do constitute, start with do constitute a substantial alteration?
I'm sorry, are you doing it all one?
No, that's the second part of the motion. We have,
Oh, okay, fine.
having found that, we need to determine whether or not
All right, well,
there
let's
is
do
a
the first.
substantial
Let's do the first part. Contributing structure.
We did.
No, we didn't vote on it.
Oh, I thought you were asking for another.
I'm glad I
sorry.
finally caught you. You usually catch me.
No,
The
I
fact that
thought you were
caught
asking for another motion. Yes, I vote yes. Sorry.
Okay, here we go. We're voting to reaffirm it's a contributing structure. Mr. Lear?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay. Now, this second part of that would be whether or not we refer it to the Cape Cod Commission. You agree?
Yeah, but you can phrase that either way.
Okay, we'll phrase it.
We shall not, or we shall. You can phrase it.
You're making the motion. I'm not going to tell you what to say.
All right.
They,
Then I move.
Is the sound on?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
it was not.
I'm on. I move the Chatham Historical Commission find that the materials presented this date showing that proposed alterations, additions, or renovations do constitute a substantial alteration to a contributing structure located in the National Register Historic District, and therefore referral to the Cape Cod Commission for review is necessary.
Okay.
Second.
Second by Mr. Aikman. So we're voting now whether to send it. If you agree the application is such that we will not send it and you would like to approve the application, you will be voting no. Mr. Lear?
Yes.
Yes. Steve?
No.
Ben?
No.
Stephanie?
Yes. I just changed again.
You changed it again? Okay. Yes. Jane?
Yes.
Don?
No.
Okay, I'm confusing myself with the yes, no. And the chair votes, I will not refer it to the Cape Cod Commission, vote no. So the motion fails. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, if I did that right, 1, 2, 3, 4. I did something wrong. 1,
Oh, you're
2,
right.
3.
There's 4 no's and 3 yeses.
4 noes and 3 yeses, so we do not refer it to the Cape Cod Commission. Okay. The next vote, or with the referral, is whether or not we want to impose a demolition delay on the property. So what we've voted for so far is that we are not sending it to the Cape Cod Commission, or whether or not we want to impose a demolition delay. Did I do that wrong?
No, I'm just counting.
It's 7, all right, okay. Okay, I'm sorry.
Frank, did we previously vote on whether it is historically significant?
Yes, we did.
I don't recall, that's all.
No, we did?
Okay.
I just looked back in my notes from the last
We didn't
meeting.
reaffirm its historical
I
significance?
don't believe so.
We can do that as part, quite honestly, it doesn't matter. We can reaffirm the historical significance and then do the chapter 158.
Right.
Okay, so
right.
we're going to reaffirm its historical
Didn't
significance.
we just do that?
But it's two different processes. I mean, one's for the Cape Cod Commission, one's for the town bylaw.
What we did before, Janet, was it a contributing structure? Yeah. We did that. Now, what the motion here is the building historically significant related to our requirement on chapter 158. If we determine a building is not historically significant, then we don't impose 158. We can't. Sorry. No, that's good. Keep me on my toes. Okay.
Ready?
Here we go. Historical significance.
I move the Chatham Historical Commission find that the building structure located at 32 Ivy Lane is historically significant because it is in whole or in part 75 years old or more and is located within a historic district, and the commission also finds that it is associated with one or more historical persons or events within the social history of the town and possesses architectural value or significance in terms of period, style, and method of construction.
I second it.
I love the fact that, you're moving closer to the chair seat here, so. Okay, so we have a motion relative to the building being historically significant. Bob?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Jane, I said Jane, okay, and the chair votes yes. Okay, so last but not least, we have to determine whether or not, given the fact we're not sending it to the Cape Cod Commission, it is historically significant, it's a contributing structure, do we feel the changes are such that we want to impose a demolition delay? So I'm open for a motion.
Well, we'll try it the same way. Chatham Historical Commission also finds the proposed work to be done dated April 29th, 2022 will materially diminish the historic significance of the building structure. Therefore, the commission opposes a demolition delay in the amount of 540 days.
Second?
All right, Jane seconded it. So what we're saying here now is that we consider the changes that we're not sending, we already said we're not going to send it to the Cape Cod Commission, but whether or not we want to impose an 18-month demolition delay on the property. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, then I say the only discussion I would, hold on, 1 second, Steve. Let me speak, Steve, and I'll let you recognize, okay, unless you have a question on what we're doing. Okay, my comment is very simply, a 540-day demolition delay, in my opinion, is extremely punitive. And to what end would we serve by doing that? This commission has generally been pretty clear. And I remember standing up at town meeting when we said we're going to impose, we asked the demolition delay be moved from 6 months to 12 months to 18 months. We promised, as far as I'm concerned, the members of town meeting that we would not be punitive, okay? And I think, in my opinion, by imposing that length of a demolition delay, to what end, is just not consistent with the values, in my opinion, of this commission and how we've acted in the past. So I would reject this application. I would reject the motion and not impose a demolition delay at all. Yes, Don? I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, we have in the past lifted a demo delay after a certain time and after certain conditions were met. So I don't feel that this is punitive at all.
Don, I agree with you. But when we did that, we generally had a discussion of what we wanted to change. In other words, what we use the term, I think, is it a showstopper? Now, I asked for the chimney to be changed, and they agreed. Now, is the chimney a showstopper? Are we going to impose a demolition delay of 18 months because he wouldn't change the chimney?
I think there are other things that have been requested, i.e. measurements, exact measurements, an accurate number for the amount of material that's going to be demolished or lost goes into a dumpster. And I don't think those questions have been satisfied. So putting a demo delay in until such time as those requirements and any others that may come to the fore is appropriate.
Donna, I don't disagree with your general comments. We have been looking at this since April 19th, if I'm correct. And what we review, in my opinion, is concepts. We specifically do not ask for construction drawings. That's not our decision. And yes, we do ask for dimensions when dimensions are asked for and required in order to determine, certain scope of concepts. And I think this application is pretty detailed. Albeit we could have asked for a couple of dimensions, Don, but we had almost a month to ask for those dimensions. And, we should have done that, in all fairness.
Frank, you cut me off at the last hearing when I was trying to ask
I'm sorry?
questions. You cut me off at the last hearing when I was trying to ask exactly those questions.
Oh, come on. If you really wanted, I don't want to get argumentative here, guys. If you really wanted that, I think you should have made it very clear to the applicant and that you wanted to see those dimensions. If, I don't know, we're going off the rails here, as far as I'm concerned.
Steve's got his hand up.
Yeah, Steve, I got you. I wanted to finish this conversation. Yes, sir.
Well, as part of that conversation, I agree that in the past, when we've asked for demolition delays of any kind, it's for some specific purpose. It's going to be relative, either to give us an opportunity or give the owners an opportunity to find a buyer for the property or to relocate the property to some other location or something of that nature. 540 days to me just jumps out as we don't like it and we're going to throw up every roadblock we can toss, and I don't think that's fair or appropriate. If we were just talking about dimensions, if we said okay, it can be shortened on the date that the dimensions are submitted, it doesn't change anything. We have the same thing. We have their approvals, et cetera. In 30 days, somebody comes in with the measurements, they've met the criticism, but it's not like we're continuing, my understanding, it's not that we're continuing the hearing until such time as we get those dimensions so we can make a clear decision on whether this is too much, too little, appropriate, inappropriate. I don't know that extending it 540 days to come up with some dimensions is really significant. We've got no testimony at all that we have historic materials of any significance here. We're not talking about a 19th century structure. We're talking about a 20th century structure. The materials that would expect to be removed in this situation are not something that would be saved for any particular purpose because they were unique, because I don't believe they are unique, and there's certainly been no testimony, if that's probably an appropriate word, that no indication that these are what's going to be removed is so unique that we have to keep them from the dumpster, with whether it's roof shingles or even some siding in this case. I don't know what the typical siding was in 1920 or 25, but it was probably plywood or sheathing boards that came from Home Depot or Mid-Cape Lumber. I don't think we're talking about historic materials in this case, and I don't see any reason to impose a delay for that purpose.
Yes, Don?
In my opinion, this proposal totally envelops the original house, original cottage, and is unrecognizable. I mean, look at the picture that's on page 9 of the original proposal. That looks nothing like an old cottage. And in my mind, I would like to see, if possible, plans that at least recognize and preserve the look of that old cottage that you see on the screen. Those are my feelings.
Okay.
That's understandable,
I think,
but I don't think.
I
there's
think
a-
we,
That has something to do with dimensions and measurements.
all right, I think Steve, unless you got something new, I think we've killed this one. In terms
I'm
of
done.
Don's view versus my view or your view. Do you agree, Steve? You have something more to add?
I have nothing to add.
Thank you. Okay. Yes,
I just want to ask one question. How many months was it going to be delayed?
18 months,
18 months.
year and a half.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question, kind of a technical one. Bob and I can talk about it. So you voted not to refer us to the Cape Cod Commission, which was sort of what we were thinking we were going to go. My concern is that, does that foreclose you from taking a similar vote at the end of 540 days?
No, it's very clear to us and affirmed and validated through Sarah Korjeff and members of the Cape Cod Commission that both the referral to the Cape Cod Commission under the DRI and our Chapter 158 are independent, that we
Right,
can take.
that's what I thought. So we want a referral to the Cape Cod Commission. Would ask you to reconsider
sorry?
your. We want a referral to the Cape Cod Commission and would ask you to reconsider your vote.
Well, you know, why don't we just finish where we are, Bill, and then we can always change things. So I think we should finish it. I'm sorry?
I think Bill's right. If you counted the votes, I think there were 4. And 3, but it was the opposite way you're saying it.
In order for reconsideration, it has to come from the
I'm sorry,
motion to
wait, what's your question? Address your question to me.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, it is, my mic is on. In order to reconsider, the motion to reconsider that, if that's what you're asking, Mr. Riley, has to come from someone who voted on the prevailing
Okay,
side.
let's not get there yet.
No, we want to get there.
I hear what you want. My decision at this particular point is to make the decision, a referral of the Chapter 158.
No, we would ask one of the
We can
members.
reconsider that motion at the conclusion if it's necessary to do that.
All right, as long as they
Okay.
can bring it up when you're done voting, that's fine.
Look, let me run the meeting. Thank you, Bill. We can reconsider. I hear what you're saying, and we can do that. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are now. Well, let's not stop the private conversation. What's your question, Steph?
I believe the vote earlier was 4-3, like we said, but I believe it was 4 that wanted it to go to the commission.
No, it was the other way around. Don changed his
Or against-
vote.
Okay. Oh, I didn't realize Don changed it.
Yeah, that's what happened. Okay? Boy, I can't do anything wrong with this crew. They're watching me at every end. All right, okay. We are going to vote whether or not to impose an 18-month demolition delay. Boy, you guys are tough. I think we've all had all the discussions. We're going to vote. Mr. Lear?
Yes.
Yes. Steve?
No.
Ben?
No.
Steph?
No.
Jane?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
And the chair votes no. Thank you very much. It's over.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
So what does that mean?
Mr. Ahern, Mr. Riley, thank you very much for your patience. I know this was long and drawn out, but more importantly, I want to thank the members of the Old Village Association, you know, who did a lot of work in trying to bring things forward, and I do appreciate it. We got a difference of opinion here, but I think we can proceed. Patrick, sorry, one second. Patrick wanted to say something.
I just want to thank you all for going through this process. There's been a lot of information and a lot of drawings and feedback. And I truly hope that when this is completed, that most everybody will feel positive about it. And I'll make sure all the details are right. Thank you.
And please convey our comments to the, they're still here, I'm not sure.
I'm sure they are, yeah.
Yeah, okay, well,
Mr.
thank you very
Chairman,
much.
Thanks again.
I'd like to consider a revote on the referral to the Cape Cod Commission.
Whoa, what are we doing here?
Why don't,
I'd like to have a consideration of the revote to refer to the Cape Cod Commission,
Why?
because I'd like to change my vote.
Oh, you can't just change a vote. We gotta have a reason for it, Don. No, I think it's out of order. I'm sorry, I will not accept that motion. Okay, we are proceeding. We
Frank,
have a long
Frank,
agenda.
I have to excuse myself. I have a doctor's appointment, 1:30.
You what?
A
Yeah,
doctor-
okay, great.
I have a doctor's
Thank you,
appointment.
Jane. Jane, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right. We're going back to our agenda, which we will do quickly. Michelle, we will do the application changes next meeting. Okay, I'm going to no business, guys. Old business. The Preservation Awards ceremony was wonderful. If you didn't attend, here's your,
Oh, Frank, can I say something about that before I leave?
yes.
The thing that was so fabulous about it was that we were sitting in front of the murals of the artist
Yes.
Stelneck. And so it was as if all of the recipients and participants were on stage.
Thank you. What Jane is referring to is the event occurred in the Atwood Barn in the Old Village. I would have hoped more members could give up a little bit of time, and I know we all have personal reasons, but we made a decision, the Preservation Awards Committee, to hold them every other year. And I think that's also was a request from Community Development because they're funding and basically paying and doing all the work. And I think that's appropriate. We only had 3 this time, you know, but we'll do it every other year, but still continue it. Janet, I hope that you will join us as a member of the committee. I think you'll find. Ms. Porter has also indicated that she is not going to submit her resignation to the commission and is going to continue as an alternate.
Good news.
Thank you. And great news. Thank you for her history and background and insight, and her fact that she used to sit next to me when she always would remind me what I was doing wrong. So I keep pushing her over away. Anyway, so that's great, and I think it was very well received. The owners were ecstatic. One thing is the owner of Seaview Street, I can't think of the address, they wanted, and I know that was a controversial one, but we did approve it. They have invited us to come and tour the interior of the house. You know, not the new part, but the historic part that was preserved. So, you know, come sometime, I'm going to try to arrange a date and then let you guys know, and we'll tour the interior, because they're very proud of the work that they did, you know, to keep the Plum, wasn't it the Plums had that house? Yeah, yeah, so that's good. Steve, have you had a chance to talk to Mr. Cartier yet?
I have, but I just need to, and I will sometime early next week talk to Michelle and get those details regarding the funding.
Very good.
He's anxious to do it. He's willing to do it, and it's a go. I just want to confirm that other information.
just for the public's information, and remember, this is the Archaeological Survey of Chatham Cemeteries, which, by the way, are gaining a lot of attention lately in terms of the public recognizing that some of these cemeteries are not really being kept well. And there's a new cemetery commission, and this will be helpful. It also will be helpful if we decide to go for community preservation funds. I'm looking at our representative. In the future, we can indicate the historical significance of the cemeteries. The next item is the Archaeological Survey Report, PAL. Your chairman has not yet engaged PAL to do the survey. The funding was identified. The purpose of this survey is if we could then, at the completion of that survey, possibly make a application to the Mass Historic to list the Nickerson Family Association, the Nickerson Family Site as a National Register site with the concurrence of the Conservation Foundation, if that's happening. South Chatham Village, boy, we're on the 2-yard line on this one. As a National Register district, Michelle has done yeoman's work in the preparation for the meeting on May 25th. This is on May 25th on 10:30, Michelle? I would ask the members of the commission to please try and join us. I think it's important to show Mass Historic Commission, not only myself, who's been a loudspeaker in supporting this, but also the full members of the commission are supportive of this application. Hopefully we get a positive response from the neighbors. We're sending out emails and notices and letters. If, Norm mentioned, by the way, I think he left his folio here, the fact that there was a vote on the Old Village. Technically, you don't need a vote. It's just an interpretation by Mass Historic whether or not you don't get 51% people objecting to it. So it's not a vote for, it's a vote against, which is interesting, the way it works. So if somebody is against the Norm, you left your, if you're not for it, you have to formally let them know you're not for it. So I think we have a good chance of making that the 3rd National Register District. Monomoy Theater property, of course, say again, May 25th.
I know, what time?
10:30. The Monomoy Theater property, that town meeting vote was denied, obviously, and my last conversation with the owners, Greg Taylor, was they're proceeding in design of the theater and working with the HBDC. That's pretty much it, guys. Oh, sorry, we have to go. We have correspondence relative to the National Register District, so you have that, Steph, and it's in your packet. The only other issue here is 238 Ridgeville Road. The two members to my right and left need a motion. This to approve the administrative review.
I move the commission approve the administrative review to add skylights to 238 Ridgevale Road.
Second.
Thank you very much. If everybody agrees with our chair, 2 members of the commission who reviewed the administrative review, this was a simple skylight, wasn't it?
2 skylights.
2 skylights in the back of the building. Okay. So we have a motion, a second. I'm going to take a roll call. Bob?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Jane is absent. Janet, you would be voting?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
And the chair votes, who did I forget? And chair votes yes. Who did I forget? I got it all?
You forgot Bob.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Frank, could I
we need a motion to adjourn.
Frank, could I just say, add one thing? I did, on the Coast Guard Boat House, I did speak to Dave Doherty this morning, that town engineers or representing the town went up and inspected the facility on Friday. They're basically looking at that, they're going to take the floor out, so they want to know what they need to do to put a new floor in so it can be picked up and transported. So it's in process, but not happening quick.
Oh, that's wonderful. So they're going to do the flooring work up there? Is that what they're saying?
Yes, because they think they need to do it in order to transport it.
Oh, great.
makes sense.
That would be a phenomenal addition, considering everything that we've done, and especially the people who worked in the the Metro River Bridge, et cetera, et cetera.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask for legal opinion as to what is required to get a reconsideration. I thought if someone voted one way and then wanted to change their vote, they could request a reconsideration of a motion, and that, I go by what is done at town meeting, but I'd like
Yeah, that's a town meeting thing, but we can do that.
I'd like an opinion, and if, have it on our agenda for the next meeting.
Okay. Michelle, if you can put a draft together, I will, ask Katie. Unfortunately, every time we do that, we need an opinion from down high, because, I don't know what the attorney charges.
He's on a retainer.
Yes. Did you want to say something?
Yes, I do. Don and Sandy are absolutely correct. Don was on the positive side of the vote on the referral, and so he can move for reconsideration until the meeting ends. So if you're going to take a vote, take a vote. You're going to continue it, then the town council is going to say, oh, yeah, you can take a vote. And so you end up with a 2-month delay.
I just think, as far as I'm concerned, as far as this commission, how this commission works and how we operate, I just think it's a bad precedent for us to go backwards like that, Don. I don't know what we serve.
Why don't you take a vote conditionally? And if the condition goes one way, it goes, and
You're saying you want us to take a vote to refer it to the Cape Cod Commission?
I don't want to, but I want the meeting to end today. And that means I want Don to make his motion, and he has to move to reconsider. So he needs a positive vote to reconsider, first of all.
Well, first of all, he voted for,
I
he
know.
voted against sending it. Can he vote to reconsider?
He was, well, see, here's the rule, okay? I was a town moderator for 6 years.
Yes.
Then the voters retired me. I couldn't understand it. Anyway, because it was so long ago, you realize my term ended in 1982. That's how bad things were. Anyway, so Don was on the prevailing side of the vote.
Yes.
So he's entitled
Okay.
to move for reconsideration. So it's not a question of did the motion win or lose, it's a question of being on the prevailing side. So Don was on the prevailing side, so if he wants to move for reconsideration,
Do you have a second?
he's got that
All right.
right to
Let's
do
do
it.
it.
Second.
Okay. Formally make the motion.
Mr. Riley, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can I do this at our next meeting?
By the rules, no.
No. It's over. It's overdone.
A reconsideration has to be made
Yeah, at the meeting.
before
Yeah.
the end of the meeting. That's why I've been hanging around.
Yeah, that's the reason, for instance, why Mr. Litchfield had us take that seventh vote, because the meeting was going to be over. Yeah. Go ahead, Don.
I will not make a motion.
Thank
Do
you.
it? Why? Okay. All right, motion for adjournment?
So move.
Nobody's seconding adjournment?
Second.
Could somebody please second it? Oh, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. No discussion. Thank you very much. We got to take a roll call. Bob?
Yep.
Steve?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
And the chair votes no.
And I vote yes.
Sit here by yourself.